you have to spend now. If you're not ready to pull the trigger on your marketing spend, do not start a practice.
Hey, welcome to the Dental Construction Insider, the podcast you need if you're a dentist and you're wanting to own your own practice. If you're doing a startup, you're doing an expansion, if you're doing a reno, we're here to help answer questions. Today, we're here with Transcendental. We have Nicole, founder. We have Steve with her, the co-owner, right?
No.
Yes,
She's the owner.
She's the owner.
I just run everything on the
no.
backside.
Yeah, probably something I should have checked beforehand.
Yes.
Okay, anyway. So,
Steve
yeah.
is the CTO.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, thanks for always replying to my email.
I try.
I know. Well, hey, so Steve, Nicole, thank you guys for coming. Thanks, John, for being here again, even though you have to because it's work. So
Usual suspect.
Thanks for
Usual
showing up,
suspect.
John.
Yeah, thanks
Somebody
for
that
showing up.
anchors the show.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, Veronica has to be off camera because we only have 4 mics in this production. We did put in a budget for one more, but it was denied by Veronica. So anyway, anyhow, so yeah, let's just get into this, right? Let's dental marketing, huh? Like,
Yeah.
That's huge, right? I mean, it's like, I didn't realize how big of an industry that was until I got into it. I mean,
Same.
you and I met, years ago.
2011?
2011, yeah. Yeah, I'd seen emails come across from Nicole, and I was like, I think I would know her. I should know her. And finally, I met you, and I was like, yeah, yes, I knew her.
You're like, who's this girl who's telling everybody what to do?
Yeah. Why does she want to know when it's going to open? It's going to open when it's done, because I was new to the industry. So I didn't know why it was so important to keep you guys informed about turnover, the timelines of when all that stuff happens. I had no idea. So I was new to it. I was just like, hey, I'm just trying to get this stuff done and turned over. And, you can see patients when we turn it over. Don't they just walk in when we hand the keys over,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's how it happens.
No, yeah, I know, right? Anyhow, yeah, back in 2011, we worked for the same DSO together for a long time, and we still work on the same projects together, some, here and there, right? Which is great. We try to keep you informed now, right? Or your team, we try to keep them informed what's going on. And for all clarity here, you guys do our marketing. You guys have our stuff. We're working with you guys on a new website. Your team has been working hard to get our stuff done. They've been working with Erica, who's off camera also, who does handles all that stuff for us because we don't really know it. I just learned what SEO was like 4 years ago, so she does that stuff for us. Anyhow, so. I don't even know where you want to start. I have a whole list of stuff here because I always get asked this stuff, since I'm so early on, right? We're early on with the clients, and, in their process, and they'll ask us random questions about marketing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. You really need to talk to a professional about that. And, some of the things we have here are just a list of some of the things we come across all the time. One of them is like, the effects of the economy on dental practice startups, right?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, and I'm like...
AKA my marketing company's not doing a good enough job.
Yeah, right? I mean, like, you guys, how far you guys started campaign out, people want to know what the ROI is. I mean, there's just a whole slew of things. I mean, I probably just need to let you guys tell us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, it starts everywhere. All the way back, you see them when they get that letter of intent. They're trying to work with their bank, their lending partner to get the money put together. And it's like, that's when you need to start having the conversation, right? You might have an LLC, but let's get that DBA locked down. Let's get the branding locked down. Let's figure out what this is going to look like structurally. And that's what Nicole does from the very beginning. And it's as you know, 6-month-long process as they are working with you all to build it out.
Yeah.
Has to be curated.
Well, yeah. And even with the signage, right? Sometimes they'll pick out these different colors and stuff and palettes that they want inside their office. And then by the time we know it, they're like, hey, we're working with our marketing company and everything needs to be on brand and we have to alter the paint inside of our office. and the sign has to match that, and we're working on that with them.
All of a sudden, I'm giving you change orders.
Yeah, it's all of a sudden you're telling me, you're like, hey, we're gonna change the paint. I'm like, cool. We're at framing right now, so we're good. There's no paint on there yet, but you're like, hey, we need to get the sign up. I'm like, okay, we need to get that approved. There's a whole process even with the sign,
permitting,
right?
yeah.
The permitting,
Not
and
to mention, most people
fabrication.
don't look at their lease for their signage allowance and
That's
get
a good
very
point.
surprised when they get into that process.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a doc and we're working with in Little Elm, and she was having a little hard time going through her sign process with the landlord. It went back 4 or 5 times with the landlord
Wow.
before they finally approved it, because what her marketing company had given her wasn't allowed to be on the building
Right.
by the landlord, and so we were having to find the happy medium, and the designer, the actual sign company who's fabricating it, the marketing company is like designing the sign based off the parameters and sending it to the sign guy. The sign goes, yeah, I can make that. Then he's got to put it in his format to make sure the power, the wiring is meeting all the dimensions for life safety and stuff like that, and for heat dissipation, even though it's LED. But then he sends that up to the landlord, and the landlord goes, maybe we need to make a tweak here or there, and then it goes back, and then. But ultimately, it was the marketing company that was putting the renderings together and that was designing that, and then it'd go back to the sign guy, and then he would do it. And then finally, we got it approved.
Yeah.
They came up to happy meeting, but it took 4 or 5 revisions before that even happened.
Oh, that's exhausting.
And then they still have to fabricate it.
The lead
Or no,
time,
they have
yeah.
to send it to
Exactly,
permit
yeah.
And then you have to
approval.
get an electrician.
Yep.
If it's backlit.
Yep,
to come
that's
out
right.
and, yeah.
And most of them all
The
are.
whole process.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're talking landlord approval, city approval, fabrication, installation, and then
Scheduling
wiring.
for install. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
When,
and
when are they going to have time for install?
So now that's one of the first questions Veronica asks. Veronica will ask, like, hey, do you guys have the sign, figured out? And usually that'll tell us, like, okay, they're working with X marketing. If they say, like, no, I was thinking about contacting some people, and like, do you have a name yet? Well, I was thinking about one of these names. Do you have a marketing company? They're like, well, I was looking at some people, or I was, getting proposals from them, and I'm like, we're
They're
starting.
like, the signage company is my marketing company.
Yeah.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah, you know what? We have too. Yeah, and that's like, ooh, yeah. I mean,
They're doing my banner.
yeah.
No.
If
put out
a
temporary
red
banners.
flag was a thing, right?
Right. I know. Yeah, no kidding. So then Veronica, like, yeah, we're starting, construction. You probably need to like narrow that down, like, in the next 2-3 days. And so, I mean, even at that, construction is such a big part of the project that we know of, or for as far as cost, right? We're talking 300-400. Some of these jobs are going for 500 now. It's getting hard to stay out of the fives.
Yeah. And Bank and Wells just raised their working capital loan.
Oh, that's
limits
good.
Again. Yeah.
Wow.
Because, it's
Yeah, can't keep up, right?
can't fund.
Yeah, and then who gets slashed on the budget though, right?
Me.
That's right.
Yep.
But can I have it for free?
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could just be a line item, honestly. Like if they just line item, add us in, even for a little bit. Like then
Some
we can.
financial institutions do. It just
They will.
depends. Some will break out marketing separate of working capital, which is the way to do it.
So say they have does it matter if it's a 2,000 square foot office or if it's a 5,000 square foot office? Does that relevate to the budget for marketing, or it's the same? I mean,
Well, no, it does because you have more ops to film,
Right.
you need more cheeks and seats, and so
Your
Yeah.
production schedule, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to need more of a volume play.
so what's is there like a percentage or just a number that you would say like, hey, you need to allocate this much for your budget for
Yeah,
marketing?
great question. So it depends on your goals, right? And I think dentistry has always thought about marketing budget and how to set one incredibly wrong. It's you go to the marketing company and you ask them how much things cost. That's not how you set a marketing budget. Before you even, reach out to a marketing company, you have to have an idea of what you can spend. So that you can tell them, because if they're a strategic agency, they should be able to find a program flexible enough to fit your budget needs, right?
Yeah.
But you have to know what that is, and the way you determine that is to sit down with your CPA or your partner or whoever it is that you're building your business plan with, and determine, okay, what are we trying to accomplish in the first year? By end of first year, what are our target annual collections? And then from there, you reverse engineer the budget. And so nobody does that, right? Until they come talk to me, and I tell them, do this, and then come talk to me. For most of our startups, when they come to us, they have a target, and a lot of them are like 2 million, and I'm like, me too, bro. But
Us too.
So most of them though will, when I have my strategy sessions with them, it's typically in the range of 850 to $1 million for a standard private practice, and which is totally doable.
Yeah.
But from there, for a startup, you really need about 7 to 10% of that annual as marketing spend.
Oh, okay.
Which that drops off once they become more established.
And
Right.
I do have a question, like in regards to like competition, right? Because especially what we see nowadays, right, is shopping centers or certain areas of the city, right, where it's oversaturated, right? What would be a good tip that you would recommend, right, as far as like a marketing strategy to separate from, not being clumped together with that oversaturated,
So I'm of the unpopular opinion that supply and demand is a real thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of consultants and consultancies, marketing companies that will tell you, oh, you can go into any market, no matter how saturated, no matter how many DSOs, but as long as you have a unique brand story to tell, you will be successful. That's not the way the world works. That's not business. It really is as simple as supply and demand. And not that you can't differentiate yourself, but if you're looking to achieve $1 million in the first year, you need to know how saturated your market is. And whether your broker pulls that data, your marketing company, or you go through demographics, which is what we use, you need to know how many households you have the potential of pulling in. And, for me, I think I have high expectations in this manner. Like if I was going to open a practice, I really want to move into an area in which I'm looking at 2,500 to 3,000 households per doc.
So your demographic analysis is a good starting point for something
Exactly.
like that. Okay,
So
good.
the to answer your question, like absolutely the differentiation matters, but you can't ride on that alone.
Right.
There has to be patience to pull in. If you're moving in and you've got 5 docs in a 2-mile radius that have been there for decades, that market is tapped, And it depends on the growth rate too. So we don't just look at saturation rate. I like to see 2,500 to 3,000 per doc. But when it comes to growth rate, if you see a growth rate of anywhere between 2 to 5%, year over year, you can make that work, right?
You're on the right path.
You have to balance the two. So, maybe it's an oversaturated market, but heck, the growth rate's 10%. So let's plan for what's coming in the future, right? Wow. We can leverage that.
And also median age. Like if you're a pedo, don't go into a market where the median age is 55. You're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then talk about the point you brought up on another podcast recently where you're talking really to the fact of so many docs want to have fee-for-service, right? But how the market is going in an opposite direction with insurance rates.
I see it every day. You've got these out-of-network fee-for-service practices, and I'm never going to tell anybody what business model to pick. That's up to the owner. But at the end of the day, you need to know 80% of Americans are on dental insurance, and they plan to use it.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're looking at a fee-for-service, out-of-network practice model, you need to understand that you're dealing with 20% of Americans, and then you're splitting that 20% among the other fee-for-service out-of-network practices in the area. So what I see a lot is these fee-for-service out-of-network practices come in thinking they have the same expectations as any startup. No, your expectations are slow start, less volume.
And your marketing budget needs to be double. Honestly.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. All these variables change your strategy for marketing or for that particular client because every situation is different. Wow, that's
so
really
we are not an out-of-the-box marketing company.
No.
We look at all of this before you ever sign on the dotted line.
That was a good answer.
Yeah.
And going back to budget, I had one more thought I wanted to finish when we were talking about the 7 to 10% for a startup. And Steve saying, once the practice gets more established, you can really pull back because you're pulling in provider referrals. You've established, community relationships. You've got word of mouth because you got happy patients. So all of a sudden you have this internal marketing funnel that doesn't require as much ad spend. When startups start, the first thing out of their mouths to me in a strategy session is, I'm a startup, so I have very little budget. You're a business owner. You're launching a business. You need a marketing budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Now is the time to spend on marketing.
Yeah.
You don't have a website, a brand, video, photo. You have to spend now. If you're not ready to pull the trigger on your marketing spend, do not start a practice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a necessity. I mean, once you guys really started, even with us, a specialty, right? But that's where you're able to pull from your experience,
Right.
Because you've been in, like, how long have you been specific to dental?
Specific to dental since 2000. Well, when I met you, 2011,
Okay, so 2011,
2012,
right?
Yeah.
But before that, you worked for some really big
brand
companies,
advertising.
exactly, and you had so wide variety of experience and stuff. So you're able to pull from that stuff really when it was that we needed help, because we're from the old mindset, especially the way Veronica and I were raised, where we just told people and other people would tell people, and
Exactly.
right, you'd go through the
handshake
phone book
days.
and you would
Which is a great business model.
Well,
Let's be
yeah.
honest. It's dwindling, but it is
Yeah.
still so good. if
We
you
were
can
having
pull it
this
off.
conversation yesterday. We met with a doc local here. He's in his 70s and doesn't look it. Totally spry. I was so impressed by this guy.
Yeah.
He made me guess his age. I was 20 years off, y'all.
Wow,
No, seriously.
really,
Yeah.
That's impressive.
But anyway, he's of this model, right?
Yeah.
And we left that meeting, and I was like, that was so refreshing. This good old boy who's doing handshake business.
Yeah.
You miss those days.
Yeah,
But
100%.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
we do.
and he has no website, no online presence, yet
Wow.
he's sitting at 800K in collections, and he's fee for service.
He owns his own practice location. He bought it in 03 or something like that, and he's literally looking to acquisition out, right, and sell off.
He brought us in for exit planning.
Oh, okay.
And just
Cool.
talking to him, you're just like, man, we got in the car and I just thought, that is such a dying breed. And it makes me so sad, that this guy was able to build his business the way he did. Because as much as I love what I do,
Yeah.
and it's my livelihood, I would love for every practice owner not to have the financial stress of student debt,
Yeah.
marketing spend, paying back bank, all of these
Yeah.
things that keep them up at night. They're the same thing. I'm a business owner. They keep me up at night.
Right. No, we
All
understand.
night, every night.
We understand.
So it's like, that was just so refreshing, but also a little bit bittersweet, because I was like, man, 10 years ago, right, Tommy, when we were in the
Yeah.
field, it's like, that was everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the pandemic forced all those guys out.
Yeah.
And so now it just doesn't exist anymore, and everything's good. And when you have these DSO roll-ups that are taking over 70-80% of market share, it's a shark
Yeah. Oh, I know.
environment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah, definitely. I mean, we do see all kinds of different. It's just so different right now, and we see it, in the politics of certain aspects of the actual of not crossing or staying in your lane more or less with certain things, and us as a micro company, right? There's not a lot of people who know who we are or anything like that. We're not, we do all this ourselves because we need a place to vent, and but we're starting to see that now. We're being told, like, hey, you're coming into our area, you probably need to check with us before you do this
Really?
or that, or
So you got the big kid on the block that's pulling his baseball bat out, huh?
Yeah.
Tell them
Yeah.
about this case study we did recently on market spend, online spend for DSOs.
It's so interesting. Obviously, we don't have somebody digitally coming to us and saying, you can't play on my street, but it blows us away, because the more and more we get analytical, and we're building not out of the box, but like a custom bespoke analytic software that will allow us to really extrapolate a lot of that data deeper into, where our competitors are going,
Yeah.
where our clients' competitors are going. And as we've been diving deeper into that data, looking at basically share of voice online, both, organic, social, paid search. As we dive into the paid side, DSOs are spending so much money to dominate markets, take over that local search paid ad spend. They are effectively coming up and saying, you can't play on my block anymore, because most docs can't compete, right? They might have $3,000 a month to spend on their.
That's on a good day.
That's
though.
on a good. I mean, most of them are half of that or less.
Yeah.
And these DSOs are spending $15,000-$20,000 in the exact same market.
Oh, wow.
For the exact same keywords, and they are just, trampling on it. And look, don't get me wrong, I have worked at a lot in the PE industry, so I get it. You got to throw a lot at that to really dominate a space. And look, you're in it to win it. But at the same time, docs that are coming in, they're fresh blood, they're right out of school. They got to understand you've got to pay to play to be able to carve out a space. And you can carve out a space even if they are, throwing that much money at it. You can carve out a good space for yourself if you have a good vendor that can set you up, help you find a niche, but you have to understand you're not just going to throw $1,500 at it and just book out 80 new patients every month, and it's super cheap. It's a competitive industry now.
Yeah, but they can put a TikTok video and get a bunch of patients in that way.
Right?
Some can, but
really?
some
Really?
no.
Oh yeah, no. I heard somebody told me that. Like, I'll just make some TikTok videos, man, and I'll get some patients in the door. I was like,
Oh, that'd be nice.
right, yeah. Let me talk to your framer real quick. I was like, I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah, and I'm a believer in social media and
Yeah.
content and storytelling and all of that. And
Yeah.
absolutely, you will get paid, some incremental patients from that. But to that, I say 70% of patients are searching dentists near me through maps to
Yeah.
find their dentist.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I
So-
get it.
Yeah.
You know?
I know.
That's what I kind of wanted to ask too, like leading into that, right? Marketing recently, I've noticed, right, it's not my area, work area, but what I've noticed is that it's changing
Oh, absolutely.
more than it kind of ever has, right?
Yeah.
What would be an area that you notice is changing, kind of besides social media? Because I know social media is kind of especially heavy now, right? Especially when
Yeah.
I saw a post just today. A dentist was responding to I think social media, right? All you have to do is do a dance and you'll get famous or something.
Yeah.
Very similar to the one. And then there was a response on the bottom, and it was a gentleman. He was like, "I'm a dentist. I'm never doing a dance like that," and I see
Yeah.
it all the time. I
Yeah.
see a bunch of other my colleagues doing it, and I will never do that. So
Yeah.
it's interesting how influential social media can be,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's not really the look that you're trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Gosh, there's so many trends that have changed. Definitely like the playbook I wrote so many years ago is not the one that works today. It doesn't mean I don't utilize the same strategies and methodologies, but they just don't produce the way they
Yeah.
used to.
Right.
And that goes back to us talking about the marketing spend requirement for these docs, with all this debt is so much higher than it was a decade ago. So I'd just say the cost of being able to compete is probably the biggest change I've seen. And I tell my docs, Google clicks are not immune to inflation, apparently. But that and
Which you
then,
would never think that. Like,
Yeah.
That's, wow.
yeah. That and again, the DSO market share has completely changed the landscape. And I hate to sound so doomsday. I hope I'm not sounding that way, but I just think in order to compete and decide if this is the right move for you, you have to really be realistic and understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But not to deter, I have SheEO, right, which is a nonprofit co-founded with a bunch of my friends and colleagues, and where the premise of the founding of that nonprofit was about helping female associates take the leap into professional autonomy to build their own practice, right? So I'm not discouraging that in any way, shape, or form.
It was a great turnout,
It's
by the way.
just-
That was
Thank
awesome.
you.
That was massive.
It was fun.
But you do have to just fully grasp before you take that leap what you're getting into. Because there's so many docs you'll see on all these groups we're in, right? They're like, have I made the wrong decision? I'm second guessing. Don't be that person. Understand what you're dealing with. Talk to a marketing company before you even decide to open a practice. Here's the area I want to practice in. Is this viable? What does this look like, right? What's the opportunity and what does this journey look like for me? I have those conversations all the time, and I'm happy to have them with anybody because, I want everyone to be successful. It's why I do this.
I think it's important that you should, because that's one of the questions we ask them when they come to us like, oh, I'm looking at this practice, and especially if they tell me like it's 10 minutes from my house, I'm like, oh, great. Okay, so it must be an upcoming area. Oh, yeah. so you did a competition analysis, you did a demographic report, and they're like, yeah, I did that, and it looked good. And I'm like, okay, who did it for you? My realtor did it for me. Oh, okay. And then I have a hard time trying to tell them you need more data than just them, know, because I don't want to make anybody sound like dumb or anything like that, but or misinformed. That's what I should say. It's just that
Don't
I
use
know
potty
that,
words.
yeah.
You got that.
My 6-year-old would say.
You got that pink button over there.
I'm like, shit.
Yeah,
hold on.
please.
I'm like, I'm like, you probably need more data because so the three of us worked at the same old company, right? And so originally, and John, started out in phones, but then he ended up working, under the boss there, and he was doing demographic reports and competition analysis, right? So he's familiar with those when he sees them with people. And sometimes I'll have them, and I'll say, well, hey, John, can you look at this? And John will look at them, so I'm like, oh, from what I remember, that's not really conducive for, a startup. And we're like, shit, how are we going to tell him that? Because that's not really our he understands it, he can speak about it, but we're not experts in that. It's somebody like you guys who understand the data and the evolving data that goes behind that,
Right.
And so I would think it'd be conducive. Like it's probably one of your. I'm not assuming it's one of your questions you ask somebody that comes to you like, "Hey, we're doing a surgical startup." Like a big money one, right?
Yeah.
They're big money because they're surgical because they have really nice finishes and they look high end, but they still have to do the basic stuff: demographic report, competition analysis, because you never know, right?
Tell them about the overlays you do on specialties.
Well, I mean, specialties can be such a kink in the road, right? And if you do it right, and you're actually looking to see what the competitive analysis is, not just for dentists in my area, right, but for prosthodontist or endo, like you can really find and carve out a niche. And we love it when docs come to us early enough on where they're still trying to figure out a location, because we just had one recently up in Frisco, Texas. She lived there, and she was like, I love this one spot, and like we both have lived there, right? Nice area, it's not up and coming, it's well established, beautiful, good schools. Everybody wants to be there, but it is absolutely saturated. Yes, search index is high, fee index is high, but competition is, you're looking at just a terrible score, right? And and she was like, well, I'm also looking about 10 miles north of here in what was that small little town called?
Prosper.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was actually just right outside of Prosper.
Salina.
Salina.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to ride my motorcycle up there. I don't remember exactly, but no. She was like, I'm also looking up here. We ran it, and it was like, oh, that's perfect, because like the growth rate, the projected growth rate over the next 10 years is like 14%. The fee index was maxed 5 out of 5. The search index was 4 out of 5, and the competitiveness was so low. It was like you can get in there, and you're not going to have enough competition for the next 20 years. You can blow this thing up. It's either that or pay max in Frisco, right?
Yeah.
For, the privilege of being in Frisco, which is nice, don't get me wrong, but you're going to be competing against everybody else that's been playing on that ball field for the past 20 years,
Right.
And you're going to struggle really hard.
And they have 5,000 5-star reviews, and you have 0.
Yeah, exactly. Starting with
Yeah.
I mean, we see that when we go to Dallas and Frisco, because we're up there quite a bit, and we'll see dentists as we're driving through.
Yeah. And the specialty overlay I was thinking about was, to your point, we'll have like a specialist come to us, a prost or ortho, and they're like, look, there's no orthodontists, there's no prost practices in this area. And Steve goes, he selects general practices, and then he puts in procedures, and he'll say, okay, braces, ortho, implants, veneers, whatever it is, specialty it is we're looking for. And then all of a sudden, that saturation rate changes big time. Because it's like, guess what? A general dentist isn't a general dentist anymore.
No, they're not.
What makes you different? I'm full service. Everything under one roof.
Yep.
That doesn't make you different. Everybody is full service, and everything is under one roof.
That's right. We see that. We're seeing guys start out as GPs, but now they're doing specialty procedures because they're getting trained and upping their skills. And so you might have some sort of thing where it's like it's a non-compete, and he's a GP and I'm surgical over, but now he's doing implants, but he's not advertising for that, but he's doing them, right? And he's covering them all under one roof, like you're saying. Oh man, it's just, yeah, we've known some guys that started out that way and they're not just doing that anymore because it's so lucrative to be an implant surgeon.
It's
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing an OMS office in Frisco, right? Yeah.
If you're looking to specialize right now, I'll tell you where to focus your CE. Sleep
yeah.
apnea, airway therapy, anesthesia.
Anesthesia.
This is
Yeah.
where you want to play.
I know. I wanted Veronica to go back to school to be an anesthesiologist.
Yeah.
She said no. She likes doing construction management.
That'd be quite the departure. Quite
It would be. Yeah, it would be tough.
transition.
To your point, though, I mean, honestly, it's so far ahead of the curve, those specialties, that there isn't even that much search volume for it now. So
No.
if a dentist is getting into it, now's the time, because as you come out, you're certified, you can practice that way. That's when the search volume is going to catch to you, and you're going to be ahead of that curve, able to practice in an area where everybody else is still catching up. So, yeah.
Well, so I have another question. So
Let's go.
Let's see. De novo versus acquisition for build out. You said y'all were helping somebody with selling their practice. What are we doing here?
We're
We're a marketing company.
We do that a lot.
No, so there's so many triggers for deciding to partner with a marketing company, right? We talk about startups all day long, but there's
Yeah.
so many other things. Are you adding an associate, adding a hygienist, expanding hours, expanding your footprint, moving locations, adding locations? But one of those triggers is exit planning. So about, I'd say 5 years prior to wanting to either retire or at least offload business ops, you need to reach out to a marketing company and start that program and process. And I just actually did, we partner with Henry Schein Transitions and Bank of America on exit planning. So
Oh, wow.
I just did like a CE tour around Texas with a bunch of my Henry Schein Bank and attorney partners, and
Okay.
spoke
I saw
about.
that.
Huge. You saw that?
I saw it.
It was
I
good.
liked it. I wasn't real sure what it was, but
Yeah, so I spoke on essentially how marketing plays a role in your ability to build valuation and appeal to DSOs or groups in sales.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, a lot of things happening. It's not just marketing. It's it's the after, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's one thing to, step into dentistry and build your own practice, but it's like, what's the exit plan? How are you going to
Yeah.
get out of this? How are you going to get money that's going to set your kids up, your wife up? How are you going to be happy?
Build
in
a
that?
trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so doing that and having that exit plan, it's like, yes, marketing.
Necessary.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so necessary to build it out from the beginning all the way through to the end.
It's more opportunity for that longevity of the brand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
Well, that's
continues
what
on.
the doc yesterday, the practice is named after him, which you never see anymore,
Yeah.
And if you are starting a practice, please don't do that.
Yeah.
That's a no-no now.
But, it was named, back in the day, that was the norm, right? And so
Yeah.
it was named after him, and he goes, explain this to me, Nicole. I don't understand it. And I go, and one of the things I spoke about in my CE tour in Texas was when a buyer is looking at a practice, there are tangible, quantitative assets they look at in valuation, and then there are soft, intangible, qualitative assets that they look at in valuation. Marketing is one of those. Brand affinity and equity is one of those. And so they don't want to have to pick a name, rebrand. They want the juice that you've already squeezed,
Yeah.
and then they want to squeeze a little more, right?
Yeah.
And so if they have to come in and completely rename, right, and cause confusion and disruption among current patient base, that's a drawback for them. So the practice down the street that they're shopping for also has a commercialized brand, has a brand identity, has a story, and all it needs is a new doc.
Yeah.
Right? So those are the things that they look at from
Plug and
an
play.
intangible, right? It's
Exactly.
not just about the P&L anymore.
No.
It's not.
No, because for this particular doc, it was the name because there was no he's gonna just do it, and he's not really worried about leaving the exit. He's not worried about selling or off or whatever he did with his name, or his office. And so what I keep hearing about is brand. Right. I've heard that before. I hear it a lot. I heard it with Mike, who's behind us, brand. And so brand awareness. Right. And so what I tell the guys here, Erica, Veronica, and John all the time is I don't want it to be about the individual. I want it to be about the brand. This is not Tommy Morales construction supervising or whatever it is. It's not. This is 26L, right? Our primary company, right? But I want it to be about the brand. I want people to be able to speak to us, to any one of them, and they're going to get the same replies, same answers, because we all know the same stuff.
Well, the key to that is that when Veronica gets you taken out by the hitman, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else can just keep moving on, and it just doesn't have to revolve around Tommy. So
That
I don't know.
escalated very quickly.
I don't know. When I go to Dallas, I'm going to have to have
I'm like, where is he going with this?
I'm telling you what, dude. When I go to Dallas, I'm going to have
don't
security.
worry, Veronica. I'm
going
to help you out with that, all right?
Yeah, we'll be in Dallas, soon. I'm not going to say when, but I'm going to have like full-on security with me because after that phone call I had,
You're gonna be like
Just
50
don't get
Cent
Trump
with that.
security, okay?
The other consideration when you're thinking about personal name versus brand name, right?
Yeah.
Is how long do you want to have to practice under the DSO or the group or the buyer?
Yeah.
Because they, if the brand is built and centered around you,
Yeah.
replacing you could be the death of the practice.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
if
where
the-
they'll get that 40% attrition rate
Right.
upon your removal.
But if the brand is built on the team, the product, the service, the expertise,
Yeah.
the experience, the patient experience, it's a lot easier to keep things going with a lower churn rate. So just something else to think about there.
Yeah, brand
But you
is
were
important.
asking about de novo versus acquisition. Do
I
you want to go back
was.
to that?
Yes, I
feel
do.
like we
kind of went around.
d-
But
we
we do
did-
that here because
I-
the lemonade is really.
I was going to say the lemonade is so
Lemonade.
tasty. I don't know what they put in
I
it.
think you're
but
being generous saying we do that here. We do that everywhere.
Yeah. The lemonade is like a little. I think we ran a lemonade. It might be like darker iced tea now.
it's a southern thing.
Yeah. You wouldn't understand, Northerners.
Yeah. I did ask about. I forgot my glasses in the other room, but it's de novo versus acquisition
Yeah.
because at this age I have to start wearing readers now.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when it's freaking dark in this room. Shit.
You should talk about the budget that they need on the
Oh
marketing
no,
side.
that's here. Hold on, let's see. I did have a question about budget.
You already asked it.
Did I?
Yes?
Oh,
Actually,
yeah,
John
I did.
asked.
It was John. Damn it, John. Oh, I didn't give you a
Messing
paper.
up the order. That's because I'm on the.
I mean, I have like a whole list here.
Veronica, I need more female presence, please.
Something to keep this thing on the rails.
I know.
Ask about the name.
About the what? Oh, the name. Oh, yeah. So, okay, the name. Let's go way back.
Okay. We're not worried about de novos versus acquisitions.
No,
Google
well-
it.
Yeah.
Google it, right? Yeah. Yeah, we're not worried about that.
Okay.
Like the name. I mean, I got like name, history. I got like story time, horror stories. Well, let's get to that later.
I think
Let's
you
have
could tell
one
the
more.
better horror stories, but let's go with the,
Oh, I
the
have
name.
some.
Let's go with the name. Yeah, because we spoke about brand, right? This is not Nicole's dental marketing agency because then, it's a good name, right?
I'm trying to make it so, but all my docs call me their life coach. So I think I'm.
They're still using her cell phone. They're like,
My cell phone still blows up 20 million times a day, and I love you.
Yes, we do, but we know like there's sometimes we get asked like I know, and it's because the passion. You have it, I have it, John has it, Steve has it, Veronica.
Well, we do this
was
for the
a
right-
nurse,
for the
so,
right reasons.
She's
Yeah.
starting to have it again,
We do this for the right reasons.
We do it for the
That's
right
why.
reasons,
The
Yeah.
relationships mean everything to me, and that's our core value. We have
Yeah.
6 core values. That's one of them. Relationships.
Exactly.
I make it very clear to all my account managers very early on.
Yeah.
You are a part of this team. You are not a vendor.
That's right. Yeah.
So
all right, so Transcendental. Where'd it come
Transcendental.
from?
Transcendental is the name. Transcendental, the definition of it means beyond the norm. Okay. You were saying earlier my history. I have been in this space for a very, very long time. I have
Yes.
worked with all of the companies, all the agencies, and there are some very reputable ones who we're
Yeah.
friends with, and
Yeah.
we will even refer to them like if
Very
we're
good
not a
people.
fit for a practice,
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. So first of all. Anytime we name a practice, right, that is actually the longest process of all the marketing.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Because it's such an emotional, you're trying to define the vision and mission in your heart.
Yeah.
In a word.
Yeah.
It's not an easy task. And when I went to do it for myself, I'm an extremely emotional, passionate person.
Yeah. 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 I know that. I know that.
Yeah. And so had a really hard time articulating what it was I wanted to bring to the space because I felt like it was my heart. And so I really had to spend months and months, you know, brainstorming. And we did this entire survey because at the time I was consulting.
Yeah.
After we left, I was consulting and I had, I guess about a dozen practices in my portfolio that I was consulting for. And I, you know, emailed them all the survey and said which one. And it was almost unanimous, Transcendental.
Yeah.
And the reason being, with the definition of transcendental being beyond the norm, I wanted to fill a gap in the dental marketing space where I felt like everything was very off the shelf, not transparent, cookie cutter, right?
Yeah,
But also unethical.
I was going to say, yep.
And
so many of them out there taking.
It's taking major advantage. And we're not perfect, you know, I mean, we make mistakes, but at the end of the day, we have our clients' best interest at heart every single time.
Yeah.
And, you know, what I wanted was dental marketing beyond the norm, essentially. And now at this point, we've really evolved to dentistry beyond the norm.
Yeah.
But, yeah, dental marketing beyond the norm. I don't, your practice is not just the norm, right? It's to you, it's your baby, right? Transcendental's my fourth baby, you know? And so, you know, when you think about the time and effort you put into naming your baby, like it's the same sort of labor of love, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But we named our dogs. It took us like, you know, probably 3 or 4 minutes. I guess, right? Yeah.
Give me your dog 1 and dog 2.
I like
Pero.
Right, Perito.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's how I came up with the name. I wanted to put something in the space, put something in the market that was unlike anything dentistry had ever seen.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'm there yet. I'm still evolving that, but I believe in it. That's my vision, and I believe in it.
Well, I know you're passionate about it. You know, you guys definitely are, because you guys don't just, you know, like you're working on a website now, like I talked about, right? So, you know, we give you feedback. You know, back when we created the first one, which was 26L Consulting, and then you rebranded to 26L Dental Builders, you said, Tommy, you know better. Consultants is like a bad word in dentistry. We need to redo this, right? And you pushed back and you told us what it needed to be. You told us how we had to like set things up for the future so we could get, you know, better SEO results. That's when I learned what SEO was. And so, you know, you just didn't like, okay, they're the client, we're going to, you know, we're writing the check and this is what it's going to be. You know, no, you're like, no, this is what it has to be. You said like, if you can't accept that, we probably need to just move on separately here. And I was like, what?
But I would never say that to a normal client.
No,
I
you
said
wouldn't.
that to you
Yes.
because
And we appreciate it. I'm not
Because
saying it was anything negative.
I'm not gonna
shows your passion.
I'm not gonna let you shoot yourself in the foot.
That's right.
Not on my watch.
That's right. It shows your passion. You have the passion. We have the passion. John, Mike, Burgos, who's taking pictures of us candidly, and then, you know, Erica.
That's my pap.
Yeah. 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 We're talking about the video you guys did for us. I mean, there's a question right there. Like, how important is a marketing video for your dental practice?
Okay.
For anything, shit.
Fun fact. Get your pen out. Video on a website or just anywhere increases conversion online by 60%.
Wow.
But don't just do stock video.
No
Good
stock video?
quality.
Oh yeah, there's stock video.
That sounds like a no-brainer right there.
I know.
No-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, we were so, you know, you directed our video, right?
Yeah.
Mike shot all the footage.
Yeah.
And you guys, when we first saw it, we were like, holy shit. I was like, that's us?
Damn.
I was like,
Oh,
and
y'all
so-
look good.
And so now we put that out. And you know, Mike, let's go back. And let's go back. And I walk again. And say, I'm like, Jesus, dude. You know, that's why when Veronica says at the end of the video, like, that's a wrap. And she's got like that face of like,
We need
She's
some
like,
beers
if
and some
Nicole-
burgers.
she's
Let's get
like,
out of
if
here.
Nicole tells me what to do one
she was
more
a super
darn
cat.
time.
Yeah, she's like, I'm taking my earrings off, and that's
Yeah.
it, man. So yeah, so
We used to be friends with those transcendental people.
I know, right? I know, right? And then we told Veronica, hey, we need to do another video like soon, and she's like, oh, Anyway, but like you directed it, you asked all the questions. It was a 2-day thing. It was really fun. We had a good time.
It was too fun. Do you remember when I was trying to interview
John?
I was interviewing
It was
John.
me. Yes.
Oh, it was a laugh and a
John.
half.
I had to bow out. Do you know in my whole career I've never had to do
It was,
that?
it's John.
I think there's some
Guys,
nitrous
white
plumbed in there.
flag,
Like it was.
I can't do it. I was like laughing.
The outtakes on that actually we posted one on TikTok the other day and it was hilarious. That was
put
one of the outtakes we
They
had
put it
on
on
there.
TikTok just a couple of days ago, and
I
it
need to watch
shows
it.
when
That
they're
was
both
so
laughing. It shows
hilarious.
Nicole, she comes in the frame then laughing. I'm like, this is why it took 2 days, John. Damn it, it was you.
Yeah, you didn't see that in the estimate?
Nicole's
laugh
Yeah.
Take 48.
session?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nicole's shenanigans. Yeah, I know, and so all of that goes planned out. So, speaking about high conversions, right?
Yeah.
When we talk to, we're talking to Dennis, when we're doing that initial consultation and stuff, and telling them, why they should hire us and all that kind of stuff and things like that. I don't like going to buy a car or anything like that when you have a salesman. I don't like sounding like a salesperson.
Agreed.
When people, I'm not narcissistic, so I'm not somebody that's going to tell them like you should fucking hire me because I'm going to bang this shit. We're going to get this office done.
Button.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's late. Whatever.
Roll it back on the Pacific.
Roll that back. So, I'm not going to tell them that, so we'll talk to them. We'll go through the conversation. I'll ask them a few questions, several questions to figure out where they are in the process. And then I'll tell them, we're going to send you a short commercial. We call it the commercial, but we found out it was not a commercial.
No, that would. I don't think you can afford
what do
a
you call it?
commercial.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's 4 minutes. Is it a commercial 30
Are
seconds?
you talking about your Super Bowl spot?
Short story.
Short story.
Short film.
It's a short film? Oh yeah, so we send them. Well, no, we're not calling it commercial anymore because it's the new thing now. So we send them that though.
Yeah.
And then we're like, boom. Then they call us back like, okay, now we better understand. And then it's funny is that some of these guys are all over the U.S. and they'll recognize some of the dentists in the videos. I went to school with him and I called him up. He said, "You guys are good people and let's get started."
Oh, it's a brotherhood.
It
No,
is.
it really
Yeah,
is.
big
It
time.
is. Well,
small
that's
world.
what got me thinking about more videos or more testimonial videos, because then I saw a construction company that was trying to vet us to, work with them in Chicago, where unions are very prominent there.
Oh yeah.
And so on their website, they have probably 20, 30 something testimonials, 30 seconds by dentists. And I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine if we had more? I mean, we've worked with hundreds, but we don't do that because, the process is long and stuff like that. And they're all in one city, where we're all over the U.S. like you guys. And it's a little harder to,
But the
do
thing
that.
is, and no offense to Mike because he's so talented and
Mm-hmm.
irreplaceable, but you can still shoot content like that on your cell phone.
Well,
It's like if you
usually
don't
a
have the
Rode mic
budget to
plug-in,
pay Transcendental
little
or pay
lighting.
Mike or whoever it is to come out and do the full shoot, that doesn't mean it shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
You should still be doing video testimonials for social media, even if you're doing small, embed clips on your website or whatever it is. Get those sound bites because at the end of the day, just like there's a stigma with dental marketing and you all
Yeah.
don't trust me,
Yeah.
your patients at the end of the day, the ones who don't know you, don't trust you.
Yeah.
They don't. They don't want to see you. You're selling something nobody wants to buy. Let's be honest. 40% of the population is terrified to even call you. And the ones that call you don't trust you,
Yeah.
which is why they ask you, what's it going to cost?
Yeah.
Do you own the practice or is this a corporation, right? These are the questions that we hear. It's not,
Really?
Where did he go to dental school and what is he credentialed in?
Wow.
And so,
So dentists could do the same thing on their websites. They could have
That's exactly
testimonials.
what we do. Before and after photos. Get that release form. We'll set up the staff with a nice little setup, nothing crazy, but it's like those photos matter because people that are interested want to know what you do, want to know if it's worth it for their time. Before and after, like what you're doing with the testimonials, tells the story so well.
yeah,
They're
it's
looking
about
for
building credibility,
Yeah.
right? But the traditional practice owner thinks about building credibility by pitching himself. No, you need your patients to pitch for you.
Yeah.
Let the
that's
patients
better.
do the talking. It's more believable
Yeah.
and it's more relatable. So the patient is going to, if it's an implant
Yeah.
testimonial, for example, I interview patients all across the country. I've done thousands of interviews with patients.
Yeah.
I've cried in many of them. And Mike will tell you, right, Mike? But I, will interview these all on four full arch, full mouth reconstruction patients. And you have this mom sitting in front of you with teenagers saying, my son wanted to go to the movies with his friends for his birthday, and I had to say no because I don't like to go out in public.
Oh, wow.
And there's somebody else out there like that. And so when they hear that story and how you changed their lives, they're going to go, this is the person for me.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's just so important to have
Those
testimonials, video
on-
content, even if you're, shooting
On their
it.
website?
Yes.
And so everybody uses their phone nowadays, right? For
sure.
Googling and stuff.
Yeah.
Is there like a way to put that on the thing or?
So here's what you want to do. You want to take those videos, put it on YouTube, right? And you want to have a
Don't give away the whole secret sauce, please.
Okay. I'm only going to give away 10%.
Okay.
Have it well optimized,
Yeah.
okay? Because it just matters.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but no, seriously, and then embed it on your website.
Yeah.
That's going to get you, one, it's going to offload the load from your server, right?
Oh,
Two,
yeah.
you're going to get a huge SEO boost out of it. And three, you just give the actual user the opportunity to watch it on either or platform, whether it be your website or on YouTube.
And
that's
a
the way
lot
to
of
do
people
it.
don't realize Google owns YouTube.
Oh, really?
They give a high preference for
So
videos
if you
that are
have
embedded off of
YouTube
YouTube.
presence and activity and you're backlinking out of the website to your YouTube channel and your YouTube channel's backlinking back to your website, oh my gosh, all of a sudden you're the favorite child.
So is YouTube
I
like
just
one of
gave
the
away the
best?
secret sauce, didn't I?
You gave away a lot
Well,
of
but
it. not
like a
all
lot
of
of people aren't gonna.
Leave it to a woman to tell you not to do something and then do it.
I know, right?
Yeah, but
We'll have Erica edit that.
yeah, but I mean, people have to implement it, right? And there's a process to do that. So
There's a
There's a
process.
lot of other stuff that goes beyond it because how many startup seminars or other seminars have we been to or conferences where they tell you exactly what to do and people actually have to do it, right?
Oh, I mean,
So
the
they
secret
don't.
sauce is in doing the work,
It's
right?
exactly.
Like, you could write the whole manual out, and still 90% of people out there won't even try because
I
it's
will
a lot of
say
work.
the secret sauce is trusting the process and
Right.
the partner.
Right. So
If you don't trust your partners, your team that you've surrounded yourself with, your construction super consultant,
Yeah.
your startup consultant, your marketing company, your bank, if you don't trust those people, you're not with the right people.
Yeah.
Don't stay with somebody you don't trust because that just deteriorates the relationship and all it does is hinder your growth. If you have a solid marketing company that is vetted, that you have a good relationship with, let them take the wheel, please. You focus on dentistry. It's like, I'm not going into your practice trying to extract teeth. That would be really not good. And I might call Veronica up when she gets her GA degree, to help me with that. But I don't think you want this dynamic duo in there.
No.
I don't.
Let's talk
Well-
about that. I'm sure you see the same thing on the construction side, right? Where you'll have a doc that is second guessing everything, where you're going to plumb
Yeah.
the lines, where the chair is going to go, how the bins fold out, right?
Yeah.
Like they will spend so much time trying to do your job for you
Uh-huh.
that all of a sudden they're like, I was supposed to have opened 2 months ago and we're still 2 months out. And we see that all the time too. And we're like, no, you don't understand. Like, you could have had a solid $100,000 a month worth of revenue at this point if you would have
If
let
you
us
just
do
let us do
our
our
part
jobs,
and
just
you're
let
doing
us
your
do our
part.
jobs.
Yeah, and see, and I understand. I get that because like when we first started the one of the campaigns we did with you guys, you said, "Hey, look, it's going to take 2-3 months, maybe 4. We just got to see where it goes. We can look at the numbers, and then we'll be able to get back to you as if it's working or not." Right.
Right.
So we had to give it that time, right? And we had to trust it. Well,
And it
we'll
can be
have-
all scary.
Yeah, it is, right? Because you're putting the money in there, no matter how big or small it is. But you're putting it in there, and you're like, well, hopefully,
It's
we'll
a
see how
cost. We'll see
works.
if it pans
Right,
out.
exactly. And so then the same with like dentists will go to an office and they're like, checking on it periodically or every day. And they're like, hey, they didn't get to this. They didn't rough in this wall over here. I'm like, well, they're starting from the back and they're working their asses to the front.
Right.
Give them time. They haven't gone that far yet. Besides, we're going to check ourselves and, you got to let the process develop.
Right.
It's not like, they work, I've said before, right? They work right
Yeah.
here. They work right there where we're talking feet,
Yeah.
yards. I mean,
well,
we're talking.
it's like when Mike and and the team when we go out for a shoot and the docs are like, what if I get the pliers and start grabbing a molar? Like, can you get in here over the shoulder shot? I'm like, okay. Are you trying to win business or close your business?
Right?
Like, you know,
Yeah.
I know the patient psychology. I do. At the end of the day, I know your customer better than you know them. I have studied them for over a decade. I listen to, probably in my career, I have listened to millions. I'm not kidding. Millions.
Easily. Thousands a week.
That's not an exaggeration. Of patient calls.
Yeah.
I know what the market wants.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys audit those.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Every single one. To see if they're following the script or following.
And when you're asking about
How to
trends and
improve
what's
it.
changed,
Yeah.
that's the first place you hear it. Not when the blog's released, not when the article comes out. You hear it on the phones first when there's a shift in the landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many dentists have to do things like team building exercises and stuff like that, and they'll put that on their social media that they're out with their team doing this or that like that. But more of the stuff needs to be patient experience,
Yeah.
right? Testimonies from patients like having, not going to the dentist and it being the norm, right? It being pleasant. They're not. It's not an experience like shit. I gotta go to the dentist.
Talk
Right.
about a moving target too, though, because it's the
Yeah.
moving target. It's never.
Well, you
yeah.
have to evolve,
Right.
right? We have to evolve every day. It's like,
Yeah.
right when I
We
think I've
understand.
cracked the code, all of a sudden an algorithm update happens and it's like, all right, 24 hours of
That's
buckling down and figuring it
Yeah.
out, you know?
Yep.
Well, yeah, and exactly. So Erica, luckily we have Erica to be able to do our social media stuff. I don't really do a whole lot like I used to do in the beginning of that kind of stuff. So she does more of those kind of things. And I feel myself that I'm somebody who gets on YouTube every day, if not multiple times a day. So for me, I think the stuff, YouTube is where it's at right now. But I know some people are Instagram, older people are like Facebook. And then there's these other platforms, where you I complain on Twitter about American Airlines all the time or something. Whenever I complain
I
about
want to know
it,
your handle.
You know how I feel about AA.
I know. But aren't you glad you're not flying
American
Delta right now?
airline hater.
So, just a quick tidbit. We're so off the rails, but I hope you're enjoying
that's the
this.
way we
Okay,
go. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
one time we were flying. No, I wasn't with you that time. I was flying alone.
No. Is this the one where you called me and all your stuff had gotten lost?
No, this is the one where I got all high and mighty with an AA employee who was being very rude to a woman.
Oh, yes. You told me
So
about this
I
one.
am a public defender of sorts.
Uh-huh.
If I see, right? He hates
No,
it.
it's true.
If I see,
I'm like, look, I can't do that because I'm a white dude, and they'll just shoot me. They'll be like, yeah, fuck that. But she's still got a little bit of that woman privilege, so she'll just
Okay,
get out her
if-
chain and mace and
if
start wailing.
if I see injustice happening, I cannot keep my mouth shut. It's a real problem I have. I act like I'm 10 feet tall and 300 pounds and
Yeah.
like sumo wrestler, right? And so this woman was asking which way. To be fair, we were at the last gate in the terminal, but she asked left or right for her gate. So, okay, it's not her fault, right, that she's got that level of intelligence, but be nice. You're in customer service.
Yeah.
And this is relevant to the topic because at the end of the day, the customer's always right. And you're in the service industry. Where is your chairside manner, right? Anyway, this woman's like, ma'am, she's like, can you count, right? And starts counting for her 1 through 10. And I hear this. And AA has
better
delayed
get
my
ready.
flights.
Go ahead.
At this point,
just start holding it down.
AA has delayed my flights 3 times. I'm a day behind being home with my kids. I'm mad. And I hear that, and I am like, God is calling me to speak. I'm spreading the gospel, right? I'm like, you could have said that a lot nicer. And I'm on the phone with him. He's like, walk away. Walk away.
It's like, look, I need you to make the next flight that they bumped you to, not.
Yeah.
I don't need you driving back.
Wow. We could have a whole episode of horror stories of things that we've gone through, or luggage not getting, us not getting equipment. Mike's lucky because he hasn't.
I know,
he
Mike
hasn't had
is it worst out of everybody.
Yeah.
No, he hasn't had his equipment not show up, or have you?
Once. But Dre, remember,
Antonio.
our
yeah.
old producer
Yeah,
had
yeah.
tens of thousands of
Oh, I
dollars
know,
of
man.
equipment lost
Wow.
uninsured. If you are a videographer watching this, you're probably not, but please insure your equipment.
Insure your equipment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
a traveling doc, also insure your equipment.
Insure your equipment. Yeah, if you have, because some of them are anesthesiologists and they.
Exactly.
So Veronica and I, when we do travel by air, if it's not by RV, we put air tags in our on our luggage
Smart.
because we want to be able to see it. So one time we went on a whole Christmas trip to Idaho and our luggage was everywhere in the U.S. And then it got to Idaho, but we were already in San Antonio. And then it
Oh.
made its way back, and then it got in San Antonio. Yeah,
That's so annoying.
it was.
Okay.
Anyway, so
I want to
sorry.
circle back to something because you were talking about patient experience.
Yes.
And you were talking about acquisition versus de novo, and those actually have a lot of parallels. So can we?
Absolutely.
Can we
Yeah,
go
that-
into
of course.
Okay. So when we talk about patient psychology and what they're looking for, they don't care how many years you were in dental school and how many licenses you have. What they care about is, are you going? Thank you. Are you going to provide an experience they can tell their friends about? Because they're anxious, they're nervous, dentistry is uncomfortable. I don't have dental anxiety, but I sure as hell avoid the dentist because, and I work in dentistry.
I know.
You know,
It's a thing.
it's an uncomfortable experience. You're vulnerable, man.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't go to the dentist because you want to. It's because you have to.
And right. And so you have to create an experience that makes them feel like even if they're doing something they don't want to do, they're still happy to be doing it. And when you think about a de novo versus an acquisition, and that's the story like Mike
Yeah.
and I tell on all our videos. And when you're thinking about like a de novo versus an acquisition, when you acquire a practice, you should only be doing that if you are prepared to reinvent the patient experience and renovate with 26L's partnership.
Yep.
If you're thinking you're just going to buy, like think about what we were talking about buyers and the P&L earlier.
Yeah.
Are you also, when you're acquiring a practice, outside the P&L and the quantitative metrics, are you looking at the intangible assets of what you're acquiring? What does the online reputation look like? Are there any Google reviews? If so, are they positive, negative? Please make sure they're above 4.5, right? Is the practice digitized? If you don't acquire a practice with
Paper
files,
records, oh
Lord
my
help
God.
me.
We still see that.
You know, and
Right?
it's like, yeah, it's like, and sorry, no offense, you should still call us, but
Yeah.
if you have paper files, but like, just consider all those intangibles because I tell you what, the patient sure as hell will.
Yeah.
Consider all those intangibles. And
Yep.
so you may not because, hey, the margins look nice and there's good new patient flow or whatever, you know, your factors are for deciding. But what about the things the patients think about?
Yeah.
And so when we talk about de novo versus acquisition, if I was going to do a new practice, it would be a scratch build. It would be a de novo.
De novo.
Because
yeah.
I'm a type A person and I want it done my way. And I want to control the patient experience and I want to control the build out and I want to control the finishes and I want to control the brand, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's the great thing. You hire 26L, you
Yeah.
get to do all that, and they bring the cost down from what it would cost if you went somewhere else.
Amen.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we've been able to save some people some money.
Tell
No,
us
seriously. Tell us about that.
hundreds
the
of
most-
thousands of dollars, I
The
hear.
most is $1 million, a little over $1 million.
Wait, $1 million on a fresh
Million.
build?
Yep.
Holy cow.
And then recently, you know, we've only been able to do like 100, 200, 250, 250,000 or so. I mean,
All right, look, get ready to hit that button.
oh yeah.
Holy sh!
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's what I mean, and it's just when they bring us, you know, they bring
Did they
us,
get you a Christmas gift?
No. No. One of them, I was like, you know what, Doc, that $1 million.
I need one of those fruit pies, you
I
know?
was like, one of them, you know, not even a bottle of whiskey, man.
What?
You know, but you know, it was a cool doc because we worked with him before. He was from the old company. He was
Yeah.
one of the old affiliates. He was really cool. He called me. They all still like me. So, but yeah, I mean, so I know some marketing companies, because you know since we work with so many different people all over, and you know, it's just a big field. There's so much work for everybody, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's a lot of work for everybody. So, you know, we understand. And so every so often we'll have come across somebody that says, hey, the doc will call and say, hey, I was, you know, talking to this marketing company, but they couldn't take me because, you know, they don't do startups. I'm like, really?
Interesting.
Like, Is you guys will do startups,
That's probably a price point issue because of the price stigma. Startups, they're not business savvy. They don't understand the importance of marketing and they don't want to spend on it. They'd rather buy their CBCT. They'd rather buy their iTero. Well, guess you have to pay for those things. You have to pay off your loan. You need marketing,
Yeah.
But a lot of agencies will position themselves to serve people with a little bit more, discretionary funds for investing and spend. Because sometimes with a startup budget, it's like they expect 100 new patients day one, but give you $1,000 to get them. That's unrealistic.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
a fever dream. That doesn't exist. It's not possible. So if that's your expectation, do some research.
Well, on that note, we should probably talk about cost per acquisition for a startup
Let's do
because
it.
obviously when you have a budget, you're operating, you're ongoing, existing, your cost per acquisition is going to be able to kind of settle out to something healthy. You're going to be able to experiment a lot and get it to a healthy spot. But when you're starting up, how much is your cost per acquisition when you're just trying to get that new book of business built out as you're doing your grand opening?
Yeah, so we're of the mindset of when you have an empty open schedule, right, with a de novo, or even with most acquisitions, they're getting 5 to 10 new patients a month, Is your phone not on silent?
You know what? It was.
That's such a
and
faux pas.
I know.
Oh,
so
I'm so
bad.
embarrassed.
Oh my
Leave.
gosh.
Our
Hold
phones are over
up.
there,
Hang
but they
on.
were here yesterday and they were going off, right?
Get out of here, man.
It was not on.
You're
Do Not
hurting the
Disturb.
brand.
Oh, it's terrible. And I'm the CTO.
Oh, I know, right? I know. Well, I've been good
I'm going to have to
today.
teach him how to do that later.
I've been good today because I haven't hit the table like I did yesterday 3 or 4 times.
Where was I? It was so rude.
Cost per acquisition.
Okay.
For
So, with a cost per acquisition with a scratch, right? It's going to be a lot higher. And so, when you think about getting a patient in the door, how much is it going to cost you to get cheeks and seats?
Yeah.
The industry average is anywhere between like $150, $200 per appointment. With us, it's what is it right now? 80?
about 86, I think.
86 or $87 per appointment.
Obviously, there's a lot of factors. That's all
yeah,
over the United
yeah.
States.
No, but these are
types of
good
practices.
numbers.
I talk about the economy. That's
Let's talk
been
about the
I've
economy.
been preaching. Oh my gosh! So you guys know when I'm on a kick, I like to get on a soapbox, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get on my economy soapbox. I have been in this industry a long time,
Yeah.
post the last recession,
Yeah.
right? So this is my first time in a true economic recession doing this, and we're seeing, because we measure everything we do in a way that I don't think any other dental marketing company does, we have seen the decline before the decline happened. So when you think about a household doing a monthly budget, the last thing in that budget is dentistry. In fact, it's not on the budget.
Yeah.
It's hair salon, nail salon, Botox, right?
I mean, Netflix
I
comes
may
before it,
or
you know?
may not
Yeah.
be speaking from experience, but right, that's the budget, and then it's like, sorry, there's nothing left over for dentistry, and that's why you see dental emergencies on the rise. People aren't prioritizing their oral health or oral care anymore, despite the advancements in technology, the advancements in holistic dentistry and minimally invasive, and all the things we're doing to draw patients in. At the end of the day, it is getting impossible to live on even a middle class income, and that's why it's so important. Like, I just did a podcast with a vendor on price transparency.
Yeah.
I have never had a practice come to me that is willing to give prices over the phone until I train them on why and how to do it. When you're in a recession like we're in right now, people like me want to know how much it costs.
Yeah.
I'm not rich, but I'm not poor. And
Exactly.
people like me want to know.
Yeah.
Because things are hard right now.
Yeah.
My grocery bill is insane, right?
Yeah.
Please
Like,
don't say it
so-
out loud because I get a stroke every
I
time.
know you do.
I know. Yeah, we know. Yeah, Veronica's.
And so, right, so it's like, traditionally in dentistry, practice owners and staff will write off a patient as soon as they ask that question. Not for us, not a fit. You're a price shopper. By the way, all my practice owners are price shoppers, so
Yeah.
look in the mirror.
Yeah.
But like, think about that next time your patient asks you how much something costs, right?
Yeah.
But so they will call and they'll say, look, I'm interested in dental implants, guys. Dental implants, all on X, right? We're talking tens of thousands of dollars in revenue. And you got Susie at the front desk. No offense to any Susies out there, but you got Susie at the front desk going, we don't quote over the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. She won't even verify your insurance over the phone.
No.
Like, just
she's
gotta
like,
come in.
Oh, do you
Yeah.
okay, you got the card. Can you flip it over? Do you see that 1-800 number? Have a nice day.
Oh, wow.
This, sorry, my phone's ringing. Oh, no, now I'm foot and mouth.
Whoa.
Whoa.
More important point just came up. What just happened?
My phone rang. But it buzzed. It didn't ring. Anyway, the point is, right, like, are you willing to lose tens of thousands of dollars because you don't have the training and you're not equipped to have this conversation?
Yeah.
You have to be able to have this conversation now. Times are tough. People are scared. They don't want to buy dentistry. What are you doing to lower the barriers to entry? And it's not even about can they afford it. It's a fear.
Well, just, you don't even have
It's
to
an
give them the exact
apprehension.
price. Give them
Right.
a fee range.
It's a range.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
So
ballpark.
Yeah.
we train our practices. We give them resource binders and we'll say, look, we're not looking for a fee schedule. That's not what we want. We're not looking for an itemized price list. What we need is a way to respond to these questions.
Yep.
So if a patient calls and says, hey, I'm interested in dental implants, I need all-on-4, whatever, then Susie at the front desk needs a resource in which she can go look at that says our all-on-4 cases have historically ranged anywhere from, A to B, right? And then you caveat that with a disclaimer that says, look, we can't give you an official estimate over the phone. There's lots of imaging, consulting, exam that needs to be done. But once that happens, we'll be able to give you a formal quote. No surprises. Don't worry. Guarantee, blah, 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 blah. Right? But the fact that you took the time to answer their question and address their concern has already built a form of brand credibility that
Yeah.
wasn't there before.
Yeah.
And so when you're saying no, do you think that they're going to call you back? No, they're going to call the practice down the street who is going to quote
Yeah.
them, and then they just got the case.
That's
so,
right. Yeah.
Because
So-
look, as a father,
Yeah.
right? When I go in, I'm like wondering, is this going to be $100 or is this going to be $2,000, right?
right.
And if you can tell me, oh, it's going to be 200 to 500, I'm like, okay, I can swallow this right now, right? I got a bunch of kids, but I can swallow this one. If I don't know, and I'm going to show up, and all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, we're going to need to run your card for $5K. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
right? They always want to know what things cost, and so do you guys monitor the script like you said?
oh yeah, we
And
train
then
them on all of
You
this.
train them on this. You train the staff, and then you guys. Does that like evolve with
Oh, of
the
course.
time?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It's amazing. We have practices because we'll usually do a one session free if they're paying for some of our other services, right? We'll listen to the calls for a month. We'll be like, look, let's get on the phone, have the account manager coach your staff, and let's just go through some of these. And it's not to call anybody
If
out.
it's
but
bad enough, I get on.
Yeah, no. And sometimes it'll be an hour-long call where it's like, we really need to go through some serious problems because that front office staff is literally saying, we're booked out for 4 weeks, go down the street.
Yeah.
And the docs, when they hear those calls, I mean, there's like almost fistfights that happen in the front office.
Oh wow.
I've gotten so many people fired.
Really?
but I mean,
Not as many people as have quit
Well-
from being mad at me.
But it'll blow your mind because
Yeah.
the ones that are willing to work through it, right?
Yeah.
If they're
To learn.
if they're genuinely trying, they just don't know what they're doing wrong. They'll listen, they'll take corrective feedback, and they'll move on. All of a sudden, that doc will be calling us up 2 to 4 weeks later, and he was like, "Okay, we just saw a 30% lift in production, and
Yep.
all of a sudden, our collections are up in a huge way.
Yep.
And the only thing that changed was front office handling calls better." How much does it cost to get y'all to come in and do a consultative workshop with us?
Yeah. In fact, we just had to develop a new product out of demand for
Uh-huh.
this. Because, so in the day, I would do these for free.
Yeah.
But then the word got out, and people were like, and all of a sudden my whole schedule was doing these,
Yeah.
trainings, and I trained the team, and I thought, okay, I'll scale it this way. The team will do them. We'll still be complimentary, whatever. But that just got to be too much, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is such a need. It's really a product.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we'll bill at an hourly rate for these trainings, but even beyond that, it's evolved. These docs are coming to us now and they're like, I don't want this when I need it. I want this as a regimen for my team, a workout for my team. And so we actually had to develop a retainer, a monthly retainer essentially for the docs that want us to continuously train their team.
Well, yeah, that's right. If you call for it when you need it, then it's harder to get the results fast enough. You should be proactive, like preventive maintenance is what we call it.
And then they get mad at you,
construction,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Their frustration gets up,
Preventative maintenance, you do it ahead of time so that way it's understood. And I understand, I'm sure you guys understand too, that some of these people are doing this because that's what they've done for 20 years. I've been in front office for 20 years. I've been one for 10 years, right? And that's what I've done. But it's because they don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they're not marketers. They're not salespeople.
But the smart ones are going to understand when you explain to them why it's important.
Which is another reason I like a de novo versus an acquisition.
Yeah.
It's interesting too because so many of them, will do these reports, these analytical reports of here's how much you spent, here's how many leads you got, here's where they came from, and here's what the calls sound like, right? And out of those, 85 calls we sent you last month, 26 of them are what we call opportunities, right? It's where that person wanted to sign up, and for whatever reason, you or your team didn't sign them up. And it's like, look at the opportunity gap. You had 46 new patients, right? You could have had 70, 75, right? Like that opportunity gap is where we need to focus because you don't have to spend any more marketing to be able to close and get almost a 50% lift.
Yeah. And is that some of the software you guys are talking about working on, is being able to track all of this stuff down to know exactly where it came from and who it came from?
We're working on a real-time lead value.
Because you've been talking about that for years.
Okay, don't remind me. Look, I've been busy, No,
I know, but you also, it's not like creating an app. It's it's not like
custom
creating an app.
coding from scratch.
Exactly, for a specific
it's the same thing
industry.
with picking the name.
Oh,
This is my dream.
Oh my God!
When you came on with me.
Oh, it was the first thing. She was like, Steve, she was like, there's the things we have to do, and there's the things that I really, really, really want to do. And she's like, if there's one thing on this bucket list you could check off, it's this one. And I was like, okay, great. And then we were like, oh, but we got to fix these other 40 things first.
Sounds like a whole nother niche, though.
Well,
very much so.
As a leader,
we have a problem with starting companies.
Right. There you go.
but as a leader of the company, you can't get stuck in the weeds. Right, you have to be creative. You like this product that you realize, like, hey, this is a product. We're gonna have to do this a little differently, right? Sometimes I have the same problem of not being stuck in the weeds, seeing something that, hey, we need to start doing a little different, or we need to add.
Being able to delegate it, though.
It's starting to, and it's hard because we're such a micro company and we're still of the old mindset,
we're babies.
Of wanting to be able to, just do things ourselves and stuff. But knowing that it's costing us in the future, or going to take us longer to get to where we need to be because we're stuck in the fucking weeds trying to get things done day to day,
So true.
And it's a little aggravating because I like when I'm on job site, that's where I need to be. I love it.
That's me too. When I can get my hands in the strategy and the data,
right.
that's what gives the lift.
So that's your sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Mine is on the job, with the guys hammering and putting up, the metal studs and wiring things and plumbing, and I'm looking through there, going through there, and I feel at home. It doesn't matter if I could be in Timbuktu, but I go into the job and I'm in my happy place. I'm like, okay, and I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, all right, I see what we need to do here, okay, and then I'll pull out my checklist and start going through that. It's the same for you when you see data, right? You see data, you see how the trend is going, and do you want to talk about timeline and launch? Let's talk about timeline, yeah.
Because I feel like that is really where the synergy happens between our two companies.
Okay.
Don't you agree?
I agree.
So let's talk about timeline and the benefits for collaboration between our two entities.
Okay. So I know we try to do a good job of updating you and the team of like when things are going to happen.
You do, yeah.
And when when we're going to get C of O, so we'll be able to turn it over to him, and then you guys work with him on like how many days he's going to train before he actually starts seeing patients and his grand opening and stuff. It's gotten very fluid lately because the inspectors have been really tough and have calling things out that have been pushing us back. Like we have one job that's been done for I think it's been done for 4 weeks now. We were last up in Virginia 4 weeks ago, Veronica, I think. And but the paperwork for C of O has taken him this 4 weeks to be able to get a document from an engineer before he can actually call for a C of O inspection because of some lighting plan.
What?
Some lighting thing that he had to get done for energy in Virginia. And it took, the engineers had to understand what he was talking about. They had to turn the documents. No, that's not what we wanted. We wanted this and this. And so it's taken a while. This guy's already established and stuff like that. He's just getting 6 more chairs. But it's kind of things like that. When we're working together at some of these jobs where, we're trying to keep you guys updated and stuff because you have like thousands of dollars in a marketing campaign that's getting ready to launch.
And it's all about timing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's going to launch. And I can't tell you, shit, Nicole, sorry, but we didn't pass our plumbing inspection.
Yeah, and I'm like, mailers drop. You owe me $10,000.
Yeah. Where did they go? I'll go pick them up. I know. Yeah. And so that's big money.
Mm-hmm.
$10,000. And so the timing has to be right on, so that way when, you have the grand opening or the doors open, that all makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So what is involved in that whole campaign, I guess you would say, for your...
So one of the biggest mistakes I see when it comes to startup dental marketing is people waiting until a month before space delivery to even start thinking about a partner.
Really?
Yeah, it's... look, if you're looking for the cookie cutter out of the box solution, you're doing a 99 Designs logo and you're getting a templated website with copied content and you're being quoted 2 weeks for launch of the website, start to finish, we're not the agency for you.
Yeah.
But if you have a dream and you need help building it and you're willing to work for it and to wait for it, and to trust the process, then we're the agency for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I tell my startups, I actually had this conversation with somebody who's about to onboard with us, sweet lady, like, so excited. But essentially the conversation was, I've been told, 90 days till delivery, which, okay, quick question before I continue. What is the percentage rate of completion in 90 days? Because they all say 90 days.
Yeah.
100% of them say 90 days. Tell me, because to me, it's 0%. What is it really?
It's actually gotten higher now, so it's like
Why is
7.
That? Oh, because of COVID.
It's like 7%. No, it's
I'm talking not with 26L.
Well, yeah. Now with 26L, it's 0%.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, with us, it's much higher.
Yeah.
Because every time we run into a situation, we're asking these questions ahead of time. Like now we have this energy thing in Virginia. Well, we're asking it for everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What other documents do you need? Has any new codes taken effect July 1st? Because they don't take effect, the first of the year, January 1st. They do like either July or September.
Right.
So now we're asking like anything new, like, we'll check.
Yeah.
Because we know that your campaign is like depending on that.
Yeah.
Well, they're the campaign.
And so we'll get like, okay, space delivery in 90 days, which I already know is 120 days, not 90 days. But I'm not going to freak them out and tell them that because then they're going to come yell at you.
Yeah.
But so, we'll have those conversations and it's like, look, you should really be selecting a marketing partner at LOI signing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are trying to build a brand and not just get a logo, that's a process. Those timelines aren't the same. If you are trying to create an online experience that converts, that Google likes, that's not an instantaneous thing. That's a birth. That's a pregnancy and a birth.
Yeah.
And so it just depends what your budget is, what you're going for. Not all marketing companies are created equal, and every single one has a different model, and that's okay, right? That doesn't make them bad, right? Mm-hmm. There's the out-of-the-box marketers with the copied content, the templated procedure pages, all of that. That works for a lot of practices, but that's not what we're doing.
It does?
No, it doesn't actually work, but I'm trying to be nice. So, understand you get what you pay for and you get what you wait for.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so
like that.
if you're one of those that, and I love Ashley Hovis, you know, all those like really just poignant industry leaders, practice owners, startup practice owners that have just changed the game, right, and leveled up the industry. They didn't go for out of the box. So if you're modeling yourself after a Smile & Co. or, you know, somebody else, right, that is one of those trend-setting type practices, you need to understand they're not going for the templated website with the copied content and the 99 Designs logo. You know, so if that's who you want to be and that's who you want to compete with, be willing to wait. And so anyway, all that to say, our lead time, I like a 6-month lead time prior to doors opening. So I can build up the brand identity in a way that represents you.
Yeah.
So I can create a website that is not only going to dominate in organic and paid search, but has a high-end conversion rate optimization. So you're converting 80% of users and not 20% of users. You know, I want to be able to get Mike out there really close before opening or really close after opening so that we can truly generate your story, right? And differentiate you the way you were asking earlier. And so that all takes time.
It takes time.
All good things come in time.
And planning.
Yeah. And so, 6-month lead time. Now, as far as acquisition, we're talking about how we're getting patients on the books. We, based on data, like we've studied this, we've run all kinds of tests, 2 to 3 weeks prior to doors opening is when in-market launches should be happening. Now, your website's already live at this point, but I'm talking mailers, ads, grassroots, 2 to 3 weeks. Why? Because if you drop thousands of dollars on marketing 6 weeks before your opening and patients are calling, they're not going to schedule with you. They don't want to wait 6 weeks. So you just paid for that lead that you can't convert because, one, you have your front office going, we're not open yet, we're new. Okay, no thanks. You know, or you know, it'll be 6 weeks. Well, I'm not waiting 6 weeks. I'm in pain. You're marketing for dental emergencies. Why did you serve me a dental emergency ad and tell me it'll be 6 weeks? That's a terrible experience. Let me go write a 1-star review on your brand new GBP, you know?
Gosh, yeah.
I mean, these are all things to consider. So we know what we're doing is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
One of the things I was thinking about too is you're talking, you know, obviously a lot of new dental practice owners as they're starting up a de novo, they don't know these. They're not hearing this timeline. And so they don't know what they don't know. They're calling up a, you know, marketing agency, just like they're calling you guys up, and they're already behind the 8 ball. They have no idea what they don't know. And yes, you can work with them. You can still help them find ways to save time, money, get it done quicker. We can too, right? That said, the baby still takes that long to bake. And, you know, like we'll try to, for instance, stand up a temporary landing page that looks beautiful, ties in with the brand we've built for you. It won't be the full website, so your SEO is not starting, you know, at the time when we think would be ideal. The conversion rate on the website is not going to be as high because you can't tell as beautiful of a story, but you can get a lot of it out there. We can do a lot to help you squeeze the orange if you're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
You just have to understand that you're not going to get the best results. So your first month's report, your second month report maybe, is not going to be as good as it would be if you had given us that proper timeline.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so when we're talking about our collaboration,
Yeah.
and you're hearing the importance of this timeline,
Yep.
right? That's why we're on email threads together.
Yeah.
And that's why you guys are emailing my team going, hey, so-and-so, 1 month delay. Okay, well, website's still going, but we're going to push back campaigns, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're not just trying to check a box. We're trying to get you money. We're trying to make sure that you land on your feet.
Yeah.
And so we want to make your ROI as high as possible.
Yeah.
So that's the importance. And not just that, but we talked about the branding component earlier.
Yeah.
You know, we send you the Sherwin-Williams paint colors
Yeah.
or you and I will kind of go back and forth on design in some way, right? Me and you, John, in terms of the patient experience and the brand that we're trying to convey and what that looks like and feels like in the office. So that from first touch attribution, right? First touch meaning maybe it's a social media post, maybe it's a mailer, maybe it's an ad, whatever it is, to website experience, to storytelling and media experience, to reviews. When you get in the office, it all adds up to the same answer. Unlike if you're pushing all this marketing and then all of a sudden I go into the office and the experience or the finish out or whatever looks completely different from what you just sold to me,
Yeah.
we have a problem, right? So it all has to be cohesive
Yeah.
and streamlined, and there's such a synergy between what you guys do and what we do.
Yeah.
And having a team that can collaborate and play to each other's strengths
Yep.
and ensure success for the client is invaluable. I mean,
It is. It's super important.
Yeah.
And when we send, the updates out, that's what we make sure we include your team so you guys know exactly where we are.
Yeah.
The photos that show it, we're talking about timeline or delays ahead of time, so you guys know, or your team knows where we are in the process, because it's like, oh hey, we're actually finishing 2 weeks early,
yeah.
which is like 4 years ago.
I don't like the early ones.
Yeah,
The early ones give me heart attacks.
Yeah. It still happens every so often,
Yeah.
but it's like, hey, we're finishing early here because we
Yeah.
guys wanted to finish
Well,
early to
'cause
go
The
vacation.
stars aligned.
You're the only ones that I know that can get a project finished early.
Yeah, we
Hands
push
down
for
the only
that.
ones.
Yeah.
The only ones.
Well, those updates really count because you call people out on them and they're like, oh, yeah. And so then all of a sudden they make up time. Oh, they invented time. I love it. They didn't have Saturdays and Sundays for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish change orders could be a thing in marketing.
Change orders.
Change orders?
Yeah.
Like in construction,
Oh.
anytime
Yeah,
a
extra
client
work.
wants something done, they're like, change order, change order.
No, I mean, they ask for it nonstop.
Yeah, it's
just,
constant
yeah.
changes. Which is great. I mean, that's why we have a custom product. We're
Yeah.
trying to build a custom product. We tailor everything we do to the client. So it's not that we don't want changes. It's just like, don't abuse.
Well,
Abusive
yeah.
situation.
This is
And
also
yeah.
true. There's got to be a middle ground where we both
Yeah.
are happy and we both can, because at the end of the day, a few words on your website's not going to impact maximally how many leads you get. In some areas it will,
Yeah.
but if you're changing it on that super tucked away back page and you're like wanting all these change orders for that, come on, like let us focus on where you're going to get the most squeeze.
Yeah. We understand. We have customers or clients that aren't, we're not going to mesh well with.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we're able to see that early on, during the process. And we're able to say, like, hey, we're probably not a good fit for you. Because we know they're going to be maybe more challenging during the process because they're not trustworthy. And we see that ahead of time. And we know, like, hey, you're hiring us to be the go-between, but you're questioning everything we're doing in this early of the process.
Mm-hmm.
So let us help you get you through where you are now, and then actually when the project starts, we'll just go ahead and move on,
Yeah.
Separately, so that way you can do it because you're questioning anyway. So we see that now, but before we weren't able to see, we didn't realize those signs and stuff like that, and we're able to just because given right, every patient for a dentist is not a patient that's conducive for them, right? That's even the same in our industry. In our industry, and I'm sure in your industry, you're like, hey, you know what? It's probably not going to work. We probably need to, do something different here.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a perfect lead-in to horror stories.
Horror
Oh my
stories.
gosh, that's where I was going to segue.
Horror stories.
I need you to get out of my head.
I live there, you know
Yes,
that.
I know. Get out.
I know. I'm ready for horror stories.
Get out. They were
Yeah.
trying to do the right
for sure.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that this associate's husband,
Oh,
she's not even on an owner. She's not even
She's not
practicing.
an owner. She's never there. She
She's
doesn't do
just
anything with
his
it.
wife. And they come after her